Hello, my lovely dark readers, and welcome back to The Dark Spine, the cosy little corner of the internet where we delve into everything twisted, haunting, and yes, sometimes just a little romanticy infused. I'm Sarah, your host, your narrator, your ever-curious guide, and today we are journeying deep into a novel that I've been turning over in my mind ever since I turned the last page. It's raw, it's haunting, it's sprawling in its ambition, and deeply emotional in its execution. Today we are reviewing All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. This was my book club's July pick, and it was a bit of a gamble, to be honest. None of us had read Whitaker before, so we didn't really know what to expect. Some of my beautiful book club DNF'd it or didn't enjoy it as much as I did. But readers, let me tell you right now, what a discovery this was for me. This book, this author, a revelation. So let me set the stage. All the Colours of the Dark is not an easy book to categorise. It's part literary fiction, part historical mystery, part psychological drama, and at its beating heart, a story of love, loss, and enduring friendship. If I had to compare it to something familiar, I'd say it gave me major 11/22/63 by Stephen King vibes, and not just because it spans decades. There's something similar in tone, in the ache that permeates the pages, in the way the story takes its time to unfold and then suddenly grips you tight and refuses to let go. This is a story that starts in the 1970s and winds its way through to the early 2000s, tracing the lives of two unforgettable characters, Patch and Saint. And while I'll completely keep this review spoiler-free, I will give you a content warning up front, because this novel doesn't shy away from dark themes. We're talking child abuse, murder, kidnapping, and various forms of violence. And if any of those topics are triggering for you, please do check content warnings before diving in. This is not a light read, but if you're in the right headspace, it's an incredibly rewarding one. So let's talk about the writing. Chris Whitaker's prose is deceptively simple. It's unpretentious, clean, sometimes poetic, but always with an emotional undercurrent. That emotional tension builds slowly, page by page, until you're fully entangled. Now, one of the more unique things about this novel, and one that I struggled with a bit at the beginning, is the chapter length. And I know some of my book club members also found the chapter length quite hard to deal with, because the chapters are short, like really short. Blink and you miss it short. And at first, I found this quite jarring. I was being pulled from scene to scene before I could fully settle into one. It felt almost stilted, like I was being hurried along before I was ready. But then something strange happened. Once I adjusted to the rhythm, the cadence of it, the short chapters became part of the story's heartbeat. Especially in the later sections of the book, that brevity actually added to the tension. It kept me turning pages late into the night, promising myself just one more, and then, well, you know how that goes. Now, Patch and Saint, I want to love them. I want to know them. I wanted to be in their heads. But here's the thing, and this was one of my minor gripes with the novel. I never truly felt like I knew them. Yes, we're told everything they do. We witness their actions in sharp detail, but we don't get much of their internal world, their thoughts, their motivations, their reasoning. It often felt just out of reach, like trying to read a face in the dark. Was that intentional? Maybe. Both Patch and Saint are written as outsiders, people on the fringes of their town. They're both quiet, observant, damaged, And perhaps Chris Whitaker was making a deliberate choice in keeping us, the readers, at arm's length, mirroring how they themselves feel in the world. And that distance does make the moments of connection, the rare glimpses of vulnerability, all the more powerful when they do come. But I still found myself wishing at times that I could just get inside their heads and stay there for a while, to understand why they made the choices they did, not just watch those choices unfold. So now let's talk about themes, because this novel is rich with them. At its core, this is a book about trauma, about survival, about how violence, especially in childhood, can echo through a lifetime, reshaping a person's entire world, and the ripple effects that that trauma has throughout their wider families and friends. It's also about friendship, the kind of deep, abiding connection that can tether someone to life, even when everything else has crumbled. There's a love story in here too, but not in the traditional sense. It's messy, unspoken, sometimes one sided, sometimes painfully real. And layered over all of that is a persistent sense of longing for justice, for peace, for someone to come back, for time to reverse itself. There's a mystery element too, a question of what's real and what's imagined. One of the most compelling parts of the novel for me was trying to figure out if Grace, a key figure in Patch's life, is real or merely a figment of his fractured mind. And Chris Whitaker never hands you the answer on a silver platter. He wants you to wonder, to sit with the ambiguity, and I found that really compelling. Now let's take a moment to talk about the setting. As I said before, this novel spans several decades, from the 1970s all the way to 2001. And while that gives the story a sweeping, epic feel, it does come with a teensy weensy caveat. Some of the cultural references, particularly the ones tied to the 70s and the 80s American life, went a bit over my head. I found myself Googling more than once to make sense of a lyric, a brand, a news story, or a slang term. Now, that's not a flaw per se. It just took me out of the moment for a few times. And if you're someone who lived through those decades, I imagine those details would deepen your connection to the story. But for younger readers or those outside the US, just know that some bits may require a quick look up. That said, Chris Whitaker paints a vivid picture of time and place. His depiction of small-time life, the insularity, the gossip, the hierarchy, the claustrophobia felt entirely believable. The town becomes almost like a character in its own right, shaping everyone within it. And the pacing of this novel is unconventional. And that might not be for everyone. There are times when the plot meanders, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It doesn't race from point A to B. It wanders, it doubles back, it takes detours. Sometimes it sits with a moment for longer than you expect. And for me, that added to the emotional depth of the novel. Life, after all, rarely moves in straight lines. And yet, despite that meandering quality, the story never loses momentum. You're always pulled forward by the need to know what happened, who's telling the truth, where is it all going. And by the final third of the book, that slow burn transforms into a full-on blaze. The tension skyrockets, the emotions run high, and the ending, while I won't spoil a single thing, I will say this, is beautiful. And it hurts. This novel doesn't give you a neat little bow. It's not interested in clean, happy endings. Each character does get a sort of a resolution, a form of peace, but it's always tinged with sorrow. There's always something just out of reach, someone who didn't come home, a love that couldn't quite survive, a truth that never fully healed. And honestly, that felt real. Because life's like that. There's beauty and there's heartbreak, sometimes in the very same moment. All the Colours of the Dark captures that bittersweet truth in a way I haven't seen many novels do. It lingers. It leaves you sitting in silence after you close the cover, staring into space, heart full and aching. So, final verdict? This was a 5-star read for me, wholeheartedly, unquestionably. Yeah, I had my small quibbles, the short chapters, the occasional cultural disconnect, the emotional distance from the characters, but none of those things diminish the experience. If anything, they added to the unique flavour of the novel. It's a book that takes its time and asks you to take your time with it too. It's not a thriller in the traditional sense. It's not a romance, though love is threaded through it. It's not just a mystery or a literary drama or a slice of life epic. It's all of those things and more. Chris Whitaker has crafted a story that defies genre, that slips between the cracks of easy categorization, and I will absolutely be reading more of his work in the future. But now I'd love to hear from you. Have you read All the Colours of the Dark? What were your thoughts? Did you connect with Patch and Saint? Were you able to figure out the mystery? And how did you feel about that ending? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. I genuinely love hearing how books land with different readers, especially one as layered as this. And if you haven't read it yet, tell me if it's now on your TBR. And of course, if you enjoyed this review, please don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to The Dark Spine for more dark, twisty and emotionally rich book reviews, and hit that little bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for spending a bit of your day with me. Until next time, keep your tea dark, your books darker, and your spine, well, you know. I'm Sarah, this is The Dark Spine, and I'll see you in the next one.